Okay, in this very brief video, we are going to cover how to create a selection set in Photoshop using the magic wand, and then turn that selection set into paths that we can then export to Illustrator. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, go to my layers palette. I'm just going to go ahead and make that a layer 0 there. I'm going to then just, I'm going to kick up the contrast here a little bit. So let's go ahead and go to brightness and contrast. And I'm going to do that so that it's a little easier to lasso these ladies off of the background here. Okay, and once I have that set up, I will use my magic wand, which I already have here set up, and I will hold down the Shift key to add to that selection. And if this is not a perfect, if this isn't perfect, I can go ahead and add to my selection set. Right? And we will go ahead and touch this up in a little bit here. We just want to get close. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now we have a selection set, and the next step is to go ahead and go up here, go to Window, and go to Paths. You open up your Paths palette, and rather than clicking on the Make Work Path from Selection button down here, go ahead and go to the hamburger and say Make Work Path, because then you go ahead and get to adjust the tolerance. I have the tolerance set to 1. That's good for me. Just remember that the higher the tolerance, the more the paths will be allowed to deviate from the selection set, and that will give you fewer anchor points along that path. And conversely, the tighter the tolerance, or the smaller the number for the tolerance, the more anchor points you will have, and the more closely, you'll have less deviation between the paths that you're creating in the selection set. I find that a 1 here gives you a nice middle ground. I'm going to say OK, and I've got my paths. Notice that there are not too many anchor points along here describing this path. And these we'll go ahead and get rid of here in a minute. Okay, so now let's go ahead. We have a work path. And now it's just a matter of exporting that to Photoshop. So let's go up here. Let's go to File, Export. And let's go to Paths to Illustrator. You have the work path here. You can have multiple work paths, obviously. Go to OK, and then click, it's an AI file, and I'm going to call it Muybridge. And I don't think I'm going to overwrite anything important here. I'm just going to overwrite the existing file that I have. Replace. Okay, so now we're done with Photoshop. Now we can go ahead and go into Illustrator, and we can open up, File, Open that Muybridge.ai file. I'm just going to leave this as is here. And zoom out a little bit. And it looks like if we hit the Command All or Select All, we have our paths. And they look pretty good. So first of all, I'll just do some really simple clean this up really quick before we end this video. And all I'm going to do that is going to add a new layer, and then I'm going to choose the profile or the silhouette and just add it to the new layer. I'm going to do that for each one of these. And then I'm going to turn that layer off, select all, and delete. And then I can take this layer and delete it. I don't need that one anymore. Select all. Now I have my nice clean silhouettes. And I will give that a stroke here. Remember, this is the stroke swatch. I'm going to turn that to black, and I'll leave the line weight here under the stroke palette as 1 point. Okay, so there we go. That was a very quick tutorial on how to make a selection set in Photoshop and export that into Illustrator.